This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy! Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at ID10T.com, like Russ Stevens, aka
Cat Bus Russ,
who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guests and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, Ninety, 4 FOR, chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at ID10T.com for everyone else.
All right, it's almost 2,200 hours. Here's the plan, short and simple. Descanso and Jericho take the lead, everybody else follows. It's about 50 meters from here to the station. Bashir and I are in the rear. Any questions?
Hey, put your hand down.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Thanks for checking out 90 for Chill, the podcast with Cat Bus Russ. This is your host, Cat Bus Russ. I was not able to line up a guest this week. I've got a bunch of leads on Blue Sky, so that social media platform I think is working out for me since I've been banned from Twitter because Elon Musk hates movies. But I digress. Well, I shouldn't digress. I should say if you want to follow me on Blue Sky, my username there is at catbusruss.bsky.social. It's been fun there. Haven't really dived too much into Film Sky. Lots of movie lovers there. Regardless, I gotta come up with content, and this week I was just going through my recent iTunes purchases and found one called Trespass, starring Bill Paxton, William Sadler, as they face off against Ice-T and Ice Cube, directed by Walter Hill, written by Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis. Lord knows I needed to get to that one at some point, but I'm not just going to leave you with one movie, so I decided to go to a John Carpenter classic with Ghosts of Mars, or at least I regard it as a classic. It's the first one I saw in theaters. Honestly, probably the only one I've seen in theaters. I know that Ice Cube, though, divisive political figure, right? At least since COVID. And if you go and wiki him, not exactly well thought out man when it comes to insulting those who affect his wallet. Let's just put it that way, or who he presumes. And we'll leave it at that. But thinking about my wallet, I have just started my Patreon. That's patreon.com/IDigCrazyFlix, where I've just started one single tier right now, which is $3 a month. With that, you will get a I Dig Crazy Flicks sticker, and it does mention 90 for Chill, the podcast with it. Just basically, I have friends at work. We buy each other energy drinks all the time, so it's kind of like, hey, yes, an energy drink would be great. Why don't you put it $3 here and keep me fueled so I can do 56-hour work weeks and then do a weekly podcast. If you're not going to do it for me, do it for Ava. She likes her wet food, and that's at least 3 tins. With that, you get a sticker, and you will get a shout-out on each episode of 90 for Chill, the podcast, as long as you're a subscriber. If you want to be on the show, send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. Offer me a film, a director, a theme, an actor, just try to focus on movies that conclude before the 100-minute mark, and I think we'll have some podcast gold, but I can make anything work. So Amadeus is not off the table. I'll have to talk to Allie about that when we go and see Book of Mormon this weekend. So with all that said, I just got to thank Stacia Marie Harden for keeping an eye on me and having faith in you that you're going to look out for me if she determines I'm worth looking out for. Sorry to put that on you, Stacia. But hey, you got the presence of the one-eared angel, Skimbleshanks, the fluffiest little cat that ever was. Thanks for the support. Thanks for coming to the 90 for Chill, the podcast, and on to the show.
It was supposed to be a routine prisoner transport.
Williams was arrested on the suspicion of murdering 6 rail workers. The bodies were hung and decapitated.
But here, a million miles from home,
Hello? Anybody here?
Drop your weapon. I ain't going back.
they're about to discover nothing is what it seems.
We got a situation here. Everybody in the mart's gone inside.
What the hell is going on out there?
Whatever used to live here, we woke it up. It takes us. I'm talking about a kind of possession.
Something's kicking out there. We need us, and we need you. None of us is gonna survive if we don't stick together.
Come on. Time to stay alive. Second time I saved your life.
Yeah, run a tab!
From the master of terror,
Go! Get out!
John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars.
Damn, girl. I like you already.
And I've just completed a rewatch of John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars from 2001, starring Natasha Henstridge and Ice Cube. I think this is probably the first real action flick that Ice Cube got a... it's basically like, oh yeah, this is going to be his action movie. I suppose there's Trespass from Walter Hill about 8 years earlier. But, you just assume with Ice Cube that it's all going to be gang-related stuff, more of the story of growing up in Los Angeles kind of thing. You don't necessarily think, well, that's going to be action-packed, I suppose. But, a little more research, I suppose, on Cube. It was kind of funny today. I was picking up dinner for me and the Poetic Critic from Gardner's Pizza and Wings in Morton, and it's a very conservative town. My sister was telling me the Pumpkin Festival parade did not feature a float from the regional Democratic Party, but you know what? People are quick with guns right now, and that's all I'll have to say about that. It's the reason I moved 90 miles away to a liberal college town. Oh, but I will digress upon that. So the story is basically, I'd say, aliens with kind of the vibes from The Thing. So, two good things, and it's a fun time. I saw this multiple times in theaters back in 2001. That was the era of a friend of mine who was going to Western Illinois University, school that I have a cousin who graduated from, and said if I was not going to criminal justice, don't even apply there, because it's strictly for partying. And a fellow Danny Daniels student from the wrestling game, the second oldest of his trainees, I being the oldest, basically told me stories about Western. He went there to be a teacher, I believe. That was Jordan McIntyre, or Jordan Sachs when I got a W over him. But this isn't a wrestling podcast. But I will say this is the kind of movie that could definitely use could have probably been recast with professional wrestlers. I'm always looking to figure out something to do, aside from my own screenplay, Main Event of the Dead, to kind of like make, well, you know, improv would have really helped this movie out, since some of the dialogue is a bit wooden. So you need a Roddy Piper type to loosen it up. And as I was just getting this movie to load up on a Fire Stick, I noticed that Keith David seemed to be the voiceover on the trailer for the feature. So it's kind of sad that he's not actually in it. You do get a few Carpenter regulars, though, so that's always fun. And really, when it comes to his direction, I'd say his flaws, he tried some slick editing tricks, and the wraparound device for the story is kind of hinders the action at points. So it could have been a lot smoother, you know, could have cut off 7 minutes, I suppose. But it's a story of Natasha Henstridge and her unit, featuring Clea Duvall, led by legendary Pam Grier, and accompanied by Jason Statham as a character named Jericho, which, again, the wrestling thing, are sent to a mining colony on Mars to bring in the criminal Desolation Jones, played by Ice Cube. Jones is accused of murder, but when they get to the mining town, it's pretty much vacant. The only thing left are a few prisoners in the jail, and just a bunch of people in the jail. Otherwise, the other revenants are either psychotic, self-mutilating monsters, essentially, who were once the miners of the town, and the only other remnants would be the decapitated corpses of all the other miners. So it's got a very 2000s attitude, at least when it comes to what looks cool for a villain, and really makes you rethink all the piercings and such that we were getting back then. I could still stand to probably get my nipples done for a third time, but another story, another time. Anyhow, I'm never off on Tuesdays to take up those specials. So the issue is they got to escape from this town and warn the rest of Mars, which is now under a matriarchy. So like all other John Carpenter movies, this can be misinterpreted by the right, and they will say this is what a Kamala presidency will be like. So it hits all the John Carpenter's notes. There are some actually well made action sequences, which I don't really associate with Carpenter. If you've listened to previous podcasts, I've done The Thing with I've done The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China, both Andrew Titi, and I think we all acknowledged it, even George, from the Not a Strong Start podcast, acknowledged that it's really the story that carries a Carpenter film. His direction is he just sets the camera up and captures it. So this time he does actually get to move the camera. So he's trying a few tricks, and this is his last theatrical release, I believe. He then did a couple of Master of Horrors. One of them was excellent, called Cigarette Burns with Norman Reedus. And the other one could have been it was a little more action based, but involves a lot more Satanism. It also had Ron Perlman. It's I think it's called Pro-Life, actually. So both worth checking out. As I say, Cigarette Burns is the must-see of those. So let me get my phone going, figure out some other notes. And alright, so this does have a fun John Carpenter score, actually, because he really does incorporate the heavy guitar riffs of butt rock into it. So it's got that, classic synth vibe, but he does try to keep the kids interested. And as for the special effects, practical effects are great, as always. The Walking Dead cast essentially worked on it. I'm sorry, the Walking Dead crew. But I will say that the CGI was adequate for its release in 2001, but I would definitely say it was PlayStation 2 era. So at least we're still with the PlayStation 2 at the time. But yeah, you kind of expect better from cinematic features. But then again, I've always been complaining about how much money is being spent now on movies. So maybe we should just hold it back, roll it back. So it's definitely, Ghost of Mars is definitely one for the Carpenter completists. It's a real simple watch, fortunately. I think it fits well with his apocalypse features. Those would be it really fits well with his entire filmography. Like if you like Assault on Precinct 13, great. This is basically an Assault on 13 movie. You've liked The Thing, you got the isolation element. So it hits all the notes. Horror, like it's gonna be fun. It's not gonna be you're not gonna walk away saying it's his best movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it hits the right notes and you're not gonna be disappointed.
I think the old guy was confessing. You remember what he said?
Who stole from Christ? I hid it.
It's gold, isn't it? Solid gold.
I never told to take it.
This, my friend, is a treasure map to this desolate place.
We're gonna find that gold, Vince. I can smell it.
Some come to take what is not theirs. Others to settle a score.
Set it up for Saturday. And I want to do it someplace way out where nobody is, off the track. What the hell are you doing here?
Nothing. I'm just here.
Back off!
In this world, when desperate men meet.
We don't want no trouble. We just want my brother back. You come any closer, he's a dead man!
Loyalty is the first thing to die.
You need to stop thinking with your trigger finger and use your brain. You're gonna get my brother killed. I'm thinking seriously, man. Somebody else needs to take over.
And it's every man for himself.
The police! No, listen, we don't need them. You're crazy. Hey, move! Now, if that loot is here, buddy, I want it.
You want to know why they didn't signal the police?
Because they found something.
Bill Paxton.
Damn it, Don, we're getting in awful deep.
Ice-T.
We're not playing anymore out here. We're past the point of no return.
William Sadler.
Truth is, Vince, I don't see any way we're gonna get out of here quiet.
And Ice Cube.
It's all about survival. It's all about getting yours.
When you cross the line, sometimes there's no way back.
What the hell you white boys doing up here anyway?
Go. It's all about gold.
Trespass.
I've just concluded watching Trespass from 1992, a Walter Hill action film, so automatically that says it has potential, which was written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale of Back to the Future fame. It's a story of Bill Paxton and William Sadler have discovered a treasure map to a cache of stolen Catholic gold from 50 years prior, hiding in a old factory in East St. Louis, Illinois. This old factory happens to be the area where Ice-T and his gang, which features Ice Cube and Zeus Tiny Lister, tend to dispose of people they don't want to be found. One thing leads to another, that Bill Pullman and William Sadler are caught witnessing a gangland execution. The only way for them to get out, or at least survive, is to kidnap the brother of Ice-T, the leader of the gang, try to figure out if they can get the gold alongside a homeless person who was living in the building anyhow. A good game of cat and mouse, pretty limited setting, which I kind of appreciate for an action film even. so it couldn't have been too hard to make, or at least I would think. I mean, this was 1992, so the explosions tend to be real in that period of time. That would be the most expensive thing going. There's some clever little twists trying to draw the white guys out so that they can be finished off, and there's a lot of good undermining played by Ice Cube and other members of the gang who just think that Ice-T is a little too focused on his junkie brother. The dialogue's got some great moments. I think, it could have been played up for straight blaxploitation, I guess. You didn't necessarily need to go and... Well, I guess putting the white people from Arkansas in East St. Louis kind of makes the entire mystery. Like, why the hell would these guys who want to get out of here alive want to call the cops on them? Or at least... that's the dynamic of our two characters. William Sadler is playing straight up, I'm getting this. I drove 200 miles for this. I don't care. I need this gold. While once things start getting dangerous, Bill Paxton is solely looking for a way out. So he's kind of a moral version of Hudson from Aliens in a sense. So it's nice to be talking about another Ice Cube movie that I can reference Aliens with, I suppose. There's not much of a character journey or character arc in this feature, so that might be a hindrance to it. But, it's mindless fun for the hour and a half that it is. Good soundtrack, I'll say that, of early 90s hip-hop, just before Cube really breaks big. Yeah, I mean, I can't really say too much more about it. There's some good, as I said, some good action set pieces. There's some the cat and mouse is fun. But are there many interesting characters? And aside from Cube playing, the man who would be king, I suppose, everyone else is just like reading their dialogue. You do relate to the dynamic between Bill Paxton and William Sadler, but the most interesting character ends up being the homeless guy who's been in a lot of movies with these actors. I know we would say Die Hard 2, Die Harder is one of them. Pulling up his information right now. Definitely a $5 purchase in iTunes. I would say it's worth it. And, Walter Hill just knows how to make a movie. I have a lot of conversation with a friend at one of my jobs about manliness or toxic masculinity in features, and brings up the director George Milius. I would say that the fun of Walter Hill is that he's really just trying to tell stories and just make them as real as possible, which is weird saying for the guy who directed Streets of Fire and is a producer on all the Alien movies. When it comes to his vision, it all just makes sense. He also worked with Bill Paxton in Streets of Fire, so always a lot of fun. William Sadler, this comes shortly after Die Hard 2, so he's kind of got that villain thing, but not really, so you don't trust him. And I think that ends up being a great little dynamic. But the standout performance would be our homeless guy played by Art Evans, was the radio guy, essentially the tech guy in Die Hard 2. I know he's a detective in Ruthless People. Plays a lot of detectives, I guess. He's also a detective in Fright Night. So, yeah, Art Evans, actor that definitely worth looking into. Otherwise, a lot of familiar faces. As I said, the biggest issue, I guess, would be we did not really get the most out of Chekhov's baseball cleats, which is what the appropriately named Tiny Lister character Cletus MO is. Modus operandi. Sorry for the Latin lesson. Is that he's wearing baseball cleats so he can stomp a mud hole in your face. So it's kind of funny that his name's Cletus and that's his gimmick. And the cleats do play a role, but not what you're hoping for. I guess that is truly the biggest disappointment Otherwise, it's just a nice, fun, quick 90 minutes you can't be too upset with.
Can I hear a wahoo?